What is the true meaning of life? Is it something we chase endlessly, money, success, fame? Or is it something deeper, hidden in the simple moments of our daily lives? Have you ever paused, in the midst of your busy schedule, and asked yourself, why am I really here? These questions may seem philosophical, but there's something we all face, whether we're stuck in traffic, scrolling through social media, or lying awake at night. Imagine this. You spend years working hard, achieving what society tells you is success. Yet, despite it all, something still feels incomplete. Why is that? Why do we often feel unfulfilled even when we seem to have everything? Let's take a simple example. Think about the last time you bought something you really wanted. At that moment, you felt happiness, excitement even. But how long did that feeling last? A few days, maybe a week? And then what? You moved on to the next thing, still searching for that sense of lasting satisfaction. But what if life's true meaning isn't found in the material things we chase, but in something more profound, something that comes from within? Welcome to Wisdom Woven, where we dive deep into life's most meaningful questions and explore wisdom from ancient teachings, especially Buddhism, that can transform how you live. If you're new here, make sure to hit that like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. Believe it or not, there are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% of you have subscribed. So please, join our community, and let's grow together on this journey. Now, let's get into what life's true meaning might be from the perspective of Buddhism. Buddhism teaches us that life is not about constantly seeking pleasure or avoiding pain. Instead, it's about understanding the nature of existence itself. The Buddha, over 2,500 years ago, laid out a path that leads to understanding life in a way that brings lasting peace and fulfillment, something beyond the fleeting pleasures we often pursue. In Buddhism, the idea of suffering is central, not because life is meant to be full of misery, but because suffering is a key part of the human experience. When we don't understand this, we spend our lives running from discomfort, only to end up trapped in cycles of dissatisfaction. The Buddha's teachings provide a way out, a way to discover life's deeper purpose through wisdom, mindfulness, and compassion. In the upcoming sections, we'll explore these teachings in detail. But first, we must realize that the true meaning of life may not be something we can achieve or possess like material success. It's a journey, a process of awakening to the reality of life as it is and learning to live in harmony with it. This perspective can transform how we approach everything, from our relationships to our careers to the way we see ourselves. Stay tuned as we continue to unravel the deeper insights that can change the way you experience life itself. The Four Noble Truths, understanding suffering and liberation. Imagine, for a moment, that you are walking through a peaceful garden. The sun is warm on your skin, and everything feels perfect. But as you walk, you suddenly step on a thorn. Instantly, your peace is broken, and all you can focus on is the pain. You try to pull the thorn out, but the more you tug, the deeper it seems to go. Why does this happen? Why does life, which seems so beautiful at times, suddenly bring us pain when we least expect it? This is the essence of the human condition, and it's where the teachings of the Buddha begin. Let's talk about the Four Noble Truths. These are the foundation of the Buddha's teachings, the first thing he shared after reaching enlightenment. They are simple, yet they hold a powerful truth about life. These truths are not just religious beliefs or philosophical ideas. They are a practical guide to understanding our own experiences and finding a way to live with less suffering. The first noble truth is dukkha, which is often translated as suffering. But dukkha is more than just physical pain or sadness. It's the sense that something is always a little off, that things never quite stay perfect. Even in our happiest moments, there's a subtle feeling that this happiness won't last. Think about a time when everything was going well. Maybe you were with friends, laughing, feeling great, but even in those moments, wasn't there a tiny voice in the back of your mind, reminding you that this feeling won't last forever? This is dukkha, the understanding that life, by its very nature, is imperfect. It's not about being negative, it's about being honest with ourselves. Life is full of joy, but it's also full of challenges, loss, and change. Now, the second noble truth explains the cause of suffering. The Buddha taught that the reason we suffer is because of tanha, which means craving or desire. We are always wanting things. Wanting pleasure, wanting things to stay the same, or wanting things to be different. This constant desire creates a tension within us. When we don't get what we want, we feel frustrated. When we do get what we want, we're happy for a moment, but soon enough, we start craving something else. And when things don't turn out the way we expect, we suffer again. It's like being on a never-ending roller coaster of emotions, where we're constantly chasing after something we think will make us happy, but it never lasts. For example, imagine you're craving a new phone. You think, if I just had that new phone, I'd be happy. So, you work hard, save up, and finally get it. At first, you're thrilled. But after a few weeks, the excitement wears off, and suddenly, it's just another phone. Now, you're looking for the next thing to buy, the next thing to fill that craving. This is how our desires trap us in a cycle of dissatisfaction. The good news is that the Buddha didn't stop there. He didn't just tell us that life is full of suffering and leave us feeling hopeless. Instead, he gave us the third noble truth, which is the truth of the end of suffering. This is called Nirvana, and it means that it's possible to put an end to this cycle of craving and dissatisfaction. It doesn't mean we'll never experience pain or challenges in life, but it does mean that we can find a way to live without being constantly tossed around by our desires and fears. So, how do we end suffering? This brings us to the fourth noble truth, which is the path to the end of suffering. The Buddha called this the Eightfold Path. It's not a quick fix or a set of rules to follow blindly. Instead, it's a guide for how to live a balanced, mindful life. It helps us cultivate wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental discipline. When we follow this path, we start to see life more clearly, and we begin to free ourselves from the endless cycle of desire and dissatisfaction. Now, let's break this down a little more. The first noble truth asks us to recognize that life includes suffering. This is something we can observe every day. It's not something we need to believe in. It's something we can see in our own lives. Think about it. We all experience pain, whether it's physical, emotional, or mental. No matter how much we try to avoid it, suffering is part of the human experience. But here's the thing. The Buddha didn't want us to become depressed about this fact. He wanted us to understand it, so we could stop running from it and start dealing with it in a wiser way. The second noble truth is about understanding where this suffering comes from. It's not just bad luck or the way the universe is set up. The Buddha taught that our suffering comes from within us, from our desires, our attachments, and our aversions. We want things to be a certain way, and when they're not, we suffer. Or we get what we want, and we're happy for a while, but then we start wanting something else. This constant cycle of craving is what keeps us trapped in suffering. But the third noble truth gives us hope. It tells us that we can put an end to this cycle. We don't have to be slaves to our desires. We can learn to live in a way that brings peace, even in the midst of life's challenges. This doesn't mean we stop enjoying life or become numb to everything. It means we stop clinging to things that are always changing. When we let go of our constant need for things to be different than they are, we can find a deeper sense of contentment and ease. Finally, the fourth noble truth shows us how to do this. The Eightfold Path gives us practical steps to follow. It's about living a life of wisdom, where we see things as they truly are, rather than through the lens of our desires. It's about living ethically, treating others with kindness and respect. And it's about developing mental discipline through practices like mindfulness and meditation, so we can calm our minds and break free from the constant chatter of our thoughts. So, in summary, the Four Noble Truths offer us a clear understanding of life's challenges and a path to overcome them. They teach us that suffering is a natural part of life, but we don't have to be trapped by it. By understanding the nature of our desires and learning to live in a more mindful, balanced way, we can find a deeper sense of peace and fulfillment. This is the heart of the Buddha's teachings and a guide for anyone seeking to live a more meaningful life. As we move forward, we'll dive deeper into the Eightfold Path and explore how each step can help us on this journey toward true happiness and liberation from suffering. The path is not easy, but with practice and patience, it can lead to a life that is more peaceful, more joyful, and more in tune with the natural flow of existence. Stay with me as we continue to explore this ancient wisdom and apply it to our modern lives. The Eightfold Path, a roadmap to true happiness. Let's take a moment to think about something we all want: happiness. We spend so much of our lives searching for it. We think, if I can just get this job, or if I can find the right partner, or when I have enough money, I'll finally be happy. But have you ever noticed that once you achieve those things, the happiness doesn't last? It's like water slipping through your fingers. One moment you feel satisfied, and the next, you're chasing after the next thing. It feels like a never-ending cycle. In Buddhism, this constant search for happiness through external things is seen as one of the key reasons why we often feel dissatisfied. The Buddha taught that true happiness, the kind that lasts, comes from within. And one of the most powerful teachings he gave us to help find this lasting happiness is called the Eightfold Path. So, what exactly is the Eightfold Path? Imagine it like a roadmap, guiding you on how to live a life that leads to real, deep contentment. It's not a strict set of rules, but more like a series of wise suggestions for how to think, act, and live. The goal is to bring balance to your life and help you live in harmony with yourself and the world around you. Let's break it down into simple steps. 1. Right understanding. The first step is understanding things as they truly are. It's about seeing the world clearly, without the fog of confusion or illusions. For example, we often believe that things like money, power, or status will make us happy forever. But when we understand that everything is temporary, and that clinging to these things will only lead to disappointment, we start to see life differently. Right understanding helps us realize that life is full of change, and that's okay. 2. Right intention. Once you begin to see the world clearly, the next step is setting the right intentions. It's about deciding how you want to live your life. Do you want to live selfishly, always trying to get more for yourself? Or do you want to live in a way that brings kindness, compassion, and peace to yourself and others? Right intention is about aligning your heart with what truly matters, things like love, generosity, and peace of mind. 3. Right speech. We don't always realize it, but our words have power. The things we say can lift someone up or tear them down. That's why one of the steps on the Eightfold Path is learning to speak in ways that are kind and truthful. Right speech means avoiding lies, gossip, and hurtful words. Instead, we try to speak in ways that are helpful and compassionate. It's about being mindful of how our words affect others and choosing our words carefully. 4. Right action. Right action is about how we behave. It's pretty simple. Don't hurt others, and try to help when you can. This means things like not stealing, not harming living beings, and living with respect for others. When we act with kindness and care, not only do we help others, but we also create a sense of peace and balance in our own lives. Our actions reflect who we are, so this step encourages us to be mindful of what we do and how it affects the world around us. 5. Right livelihood. This step is about how we make a living. It encourages us to find work that is ethical and doesn't cause harm to others. In other words, we should earn our living in ways that align with our values of kindness and compassion. For example, choosing a job that helps others, or at the very least, doesn't contribute to suffering, is a way to live with integrity. The Buddha taught that when our livelihood supports peace and well-being, it leads to greater happiness. 6. Right effort. Right effort is about putting in the right amount of energy into the things that matter. It's about finding a balance between being too lazy and burning yourself out. The idea is to put effort into actions, thoughts, and behaviors that lead to peace, kindness, and happiness, while letting go of negative habits that cause harm. Think of it like tending a garden. You have to put in effort to water and care for the plants, but you don't need to overwork yourself. Right effort is about being mindful of where we put our energy. 7. Right mindfulness. Mindfulness is a word that gets thrown around a lot these days, but in Buddhism, it has a very specific meaning. Right mindfulness is about being fully present in the moment. It means paying attention to what's happening right now, without getting lost in thoughts about the past or future. It's about being aware of your body, your thoughts, and your emotions without judging them. When we practice mindfulness, we start to notice things we usually miss, like the feeling of our breath or the sensations in our body. This simple awareness can bring a sense of peace and clarity to our lives. 8. Right concentration. The final step is right concentration, which is closely related to mindfulness. It's about training the mind to stay focused on one thing at a time. In our busy lives, we're often pulled in many directions, constantly distracted by our phones, emails, or the demands of everyday life. Right concentration is about developing the ability to focus deeply on something, whether it's your breath, a task, or a moment of stillness. This kind of focus helps quiet the mind and brings a sense of inner calm. How the Eightfold Path brings happiness. Now that we've gone through the steps, you might be wondering how exactly this leads to happiness. The truth is, each step of the Eightfold Path is designed to help you live more mindfully, with greater kindness and awareness. When we practice these steps, we stop chasing after temporary pleasures and start finding joy in the present moment. We become more in tune with ourselves and the world around us, and this leads to a deeper sense of satisfaction. Instead of constantly seeking happiness outside of ourselves, the Eightfold Path teaches us that true happiness comes from living in harmony with the world. It's not about avoiding difficulties or pretending that life is always easy. It's about learning how to face life's challenges with wisdom, patience, and compassion. When we live this way, happiness becomes less about what we have and more about how we experience life. The path is a journey. The Buddha never said that following the Eightfold Path would be easy, but he did say that it would lead to freedom from suffering. The path is a journey, not a quick fix. Each step takes time, practice, and patience. But as we walk this path, we begin to experience life in a new way. We become less caught up in the stresses of everyday life and more in tune with what truly matters: our relationships, our inner peace, and our connection to the world around us. The Eightfold Path is like a guide for how to live with purpose and meaning. It doesn't promise instant happiness, but it offers a way to cultivate a deeper, lasting sense of contentment. By practicing these steps, we can begin to let go of the things that cause us stress and unhappiness, and instead, focus on what brings true peace. In the end, the Eightfold Path is about living in a way that brings more joy, compassion, and understanding into our lives. It's not just a philosophy. It's a way of life, a roadmap to true happiness that anyone can follow. The journey may be long, but the destination is worth it. Impermanence, embracing change and letting go. Today, let's talk about something that affects each of us every single day, whether we realize it or not: impermanence. Change. Everything around us is always changing, yet we often struggle to accept that fact. As humans, we like to hold on to things, to people, to moments, to emotions. But the truth is, nothing stays the same forever. The sooner we understand this, the more peace we can find in our lives. Imagine for a moment that you're sitting by a river. The water flows steadily, never stopping. It's always moving, always changing, and yet, when we look at the river, we still see it as the same river. But the water you see right now, it's different from the water you saw a moment ago. It's always flowing. Life is like that river. It's always moving forward, always shifting, and no matter how much we wish things could stay the same, they never do. Now, you might be thinking, but why is that so important? Why should I focus on change? Because, my friend, much of our suffering comes from resisting change. We cling to the past or hold onto hopes for the future, but when life takes a different turn, we feel lost. We try to control what we cannot control. And that's where the pain comes in. Take a simple example. Think about a time when you were really happy. Maybe it was a special vacation, a perfect day with loved ones, or even just a quiet, peaceful moment. What happened after? That moment passed, didn't it? It's gone now. And if you hold on to it too tightly, you might feel sadness or longing because you want it back. But the truth is, that moment had to end. That's the nature of life. It moves on. Buddhism teaches that impermanence is one of the most fundamental truths of life. Nothing is permanent. Not our possessions, not our emotions, not even the people we love. This might sound a little sad at first, but when we truly understand impermanence, it becomes a source of freedom. Why? Because if everything is always changing, then that means we don't have to be stuck in our suffering. Just as joy fades, so does pain. Let's talk about this in a practical way. Think about a time when you faced something really difficult. Maybe it was a breakup, losing a job, or dealing with some kind of failure. In that moment, it probably felt like the world was ending. But did it? No. Life kept moving. You kept going. And now, looking back, you might realize that you're not in that place anymore. You changed. The situation changed. The suffering wasn't permanent. One of the greatest lessons of impermanence is that it helps us let go. It teaches us that clinging to things, whether it's material possessions, relationships, or even our own beliefs, only leads to suffering. When we hold on too tightly, we create expectations that life can't meet, because life is fluid, always in motion. The key is to learn how to live in harmony with change rather than fighting against it. This doesn't mean we shouldn't care about things or people. It's not about becoming detached or indifferent. In fact, it's quite the opposite. When we truly understand impermanence, we start to appreciate the present moment more deeply. We realize that every moment is precious because it won't last. The people we love, the experiences we have, they are here now, but they won't be here forever. So we learn to cherish them without trying to hold on too tightly. There's a famous Zen saying, "Let go or be dragged." Imagine holding onto a rope that's being pulled. The tighter you grip, the more it burns your hands. The same thing happens in life. When we cling to things that are naturally meant to change, we end up hurting ourselves. But when we let go, when we accept the flow of life as it is, we find peace. It's like trying to hold sand in your hand. If you squeeze too hard, the sand slips through your fingers. But if you hold it gently, with an open hand, it stays. Life is like that sand. You can't hold on to it by force, but you can experience it fully when you learn to let go. Now, how do we apply this idea of impermanence in our daily lives? First, by recognizing when we're resisting change. Are you holding on to something from the past? Are you worried about losing something in the future? Notice how much energy that takes, trying to keep things the same when life is naturally changing around you. Next, practice mindfulness. This is a powerful tool that helps us stay present. When we're truly present in the moment, we're not as focused on what was or what will be. We're able to experience life as it is, in its ever-changing flow. In Buddhism, mindfulness is a key practice because it teaches us to observe without attachment. We see things as they are, not as we want them to be. For example, let's say you're feeling anxious about something. Maybe it's a big project at work, or an important conversation you need to have. When you notice that anxiety, instead of trying to push it away or control it, simply observe it. Acknowledge that it's there, but also remember that it won't last forever. Just like everything else, it will pass. This is the beauty of impermanence. Even our toughest moments are temporary. Another way to embrace impermanence is through gratitude. When we understand that everything is fleeting, we start to appreciate what we have while we have it. Instead of taking things for granted, we recognize the value of the present moment. We begin to see the beauty in the everyday, in the small, simple things that make life meaningful. One last thought. Impermanence also teaches us to be more compassionate with ourselves. We're always changing too. We make mistakes, we grow, we learn. Sometimes we get stuck in thinking we should always be a certain way, where we beat ourselves up for not being perfect. But remember, just as everything else changes, so do we. We're not the same person we were yesterday, and we won't be the same person tomorrow. And that's okay. Embracing impermanence is about letting go of the need for control and learning to flow with life, just like that river we talked about. It's about trusting that change is a natural part of the human experience, and with it comes growth, transformation, and new possibilities. When we stop resisting change, we open ourselves up to a life of peace, freedom, and deeper joy. So, as you go through your day today, take a moment to pause and reflect on the changes around you. Notice how the world is constantly shifting, and let that bring you a sense of calm. Life is always moving, and that's what makes it so beautiful. When we accept impermanence, we learn to live fully in each moment, appreciating life for what it truly is, ever-changing, but always meaningful. The concept of self, illusion, or reality. Let me ask you a question. Who are you? When you think about yourself, what comes to mind? Is it your name, your job, your thoughts, or your body? Most of us believe we are a collection of these things. Our identity, our memories, our feelings, and the roles we play in life. But what if I told you that this self you believe in, this sense of I, is an illusion? Not in the sense that it doesn't exist at all, but that it doesn't exist in the way we usually think it does. In Buddhism, one of the most important teachings is that the self, as we usually experience it, is not permanent. It's not solid. It's not a fixed thing. Instead, it's a collection of constantly changing experiences, thoughts, feelings, and sensations. The Buddha called this concept anatta, or no self. But let's break this down in a way that makes it easier to understand. Think about a river. If you stand by a river and watch it for a while, you'll see the water flowing by. The river appears to be a single thing, but in reality, the water in the river is always moving, always changing. It's never the same water. In the same way, the self you experience is not one fixed thing. It's a flow of thoughts, emotions, and experiences that are constantly changing. Let's use another simple example. Imagine you're walking down the street and suddenly, a car horn honks loudly. You feel startled, your heart races, and a thought might flash through your mind like, "That was close." In that moment, you might feel afraid, and you think, "I am scared." But where is the I that is scared? Is it in the thought? Is it in the feeling of fear? Or is it in the body's reaction? The heartbeat, the tension? If you look closely, you'll see that all these things are happening, but there's no fixed self to be found in them. Yet, we spend much of our lives building up this idea of who we are. We attach labels to ourselves: "I am smart," "I am kind," "I am successful," or "I am a failure." We also attach ourselves to our possessions, our relationships, and our achievements, believing that these things define us. When these things are going well, we feel good about ourselves. But when they are not, we suffer. We feel lost, disconnected, or worthless. But if we really understand the Buddhist concept of no self, we start to see that these labels and attachments are just temporary. They don't truly define who we are. In fact, they're just like the water in the river, constantly flowing, always changing. Now, you might wonder, if the self is an illusion, why does it feel so real? Why do we feel such a strong sense of I or me? The answer lies in our attachment to the things we experience. We identify with our thoughts and emotions, believing they belong to us. But thoughts and feelings arise and pass away on their own, just like clouds drifting through the sky. They're not something we control, and they don't stay forever. Let's consider a simple example. Imagine you're sitting quietly, and suddenly, you have a thought like, "I'm not good enough." In that moment, it might feel like this thought is a deep truth about who you are. But if you observe it carefully, you'll see that the thought comes, stays for a while, and then goes away. It's not permanent, and it's not really you. It's just a thought, one of many that will come and go throughout the day. In the same way, all our thoughts and emotions are temporary, yet we cling to them as if they define us. This clinging is what causes suffering. We try to hold on to pleasant experiences and avoid unpleasant ones, believing that this will bring us happiness. But because everything is constantly changing, this strategy never works. The more we cling to the idea of a fixed self, the more we struggle. Buddhism teaches that real freedom comes from letting go of this attachment to the self. When we stop trying to hold on to a fixed identity, we become more flexible, more open, and more at peace. We start to see that life is a flow, and we are part of that flow, not separate from it. This might sound a bit abstract, so let's bring it back to daily life. Think about a time when someone criticized you. Maybe they said something hurtful, and you felt angry or upset. In that moment, you might have thought, "How dare they say that about me?" The hurt comes from the belief that they attacked your sense of self. But if you truly understand that there is no permanent self, that their words are just words, and your reaction is just a passing emotion, then the criticism loses its power. It doesn't stick to you in the same way. Or consider a time when you achieved something you were proud of, a promotion, a new skill, or a personal goal. It felt great, didn't it? But that feeling of pride is also temporary. If you cling to it, you might start to worry about losing it, or about whether people will continue to see you in that way. The joy fades, and anxiety can creep in, but when you understand that this too is just a temporary experience, you can enjoy it without becoming attached to it. So, what does all of this mean for finding the true meaning of life? It means that part of life's true meaning comes from realizing that we are not the fixed, unchanging selves we often think we are. The more we let go of this idea of a permanent self, the more freedom we find. We stop being so caught up in our own stories, our own struggles, and we begin to experience life as it truly is, fluid, dynamic, and ever-changing. This doesn't mean we stop caring or that life becomes meaningless. On the contrary, when we see through the illusion of the self, we become more compassionate, more connected to others, and more aware of the beauty and impermanence of every moment. We see that just as we are not fixed, neither are others. Everyone is going through their own flow of experiences, just like us. This understanding can bring a deep sense of peace and compassion. In conclusion, the self we believe in is not a solid, permanent thing. It's an ever-changing collection of thoughts, feelings, and experiences. The more we let go of this illusion of a fixed self, the more we can find true peace and freedom in life. The journey to understanding this is not always easy, but it's one of the most profound teachings in Buddhism, and one that can transform the way we live. As we continue this exploration, remember that the truth of no self doesn't take away from the richness of life. In fact, it opens the door to a deeper, more fulfilling way of being. Mindfulness and meditation, the practice of living in the now. In the quiet space between thoughts, there is a truth that whispers softly. This truth is mindfulness, the practice of being fully present in each moment. Imagine you are a leaf floating gently on a stream. You do not try to control the water or the wind. You simply follow the flow, observing the world around you with calm acceptance. This is the essence of mindfulness. In our busy lives, it is easy to become entangled in the rush of our thoughts. We worry about the past or fret about the future, losing touch with the present moment. But what if you could find peace not by escaping the noise of life, but by learning to embrace it? This is where mindfulness begins. Consider a simple daily activity, like drinking a cup of tea. When you drink tea mindfully, you are not merely gulping it down to quench your thirst. Instead, you savor each sip, feeling the warmth of the cup, the aroma of the tea, the sensation of the liquid on your tongue. In that moment, you are fully immersed in the experience, and the mind quiets. This practice of mindfulness can be applied to any activity, from eating to walking, to simply breathing. By bringing our attention to the present, we start to see the world with new clarity. The Buddha taught that mindfulness is the key to understanding the true nature of our existence. It is not about escaping reality, but about seeing it as it truly is. Meditation is a tool that helps us cultivate mindfulness. When you sit in meditation, you create a space where you can observe your thoughts without getting caught up in them. It is like sitting by a river, watching the leaves float by. You notice each thought, each sensation, but you do not cling to any of them. They come and go, and you remain as the observer. In meditation, you might start with focusing on your breath. Feel the air entering and leaving your body. Notice how your chest rises and falls. This simple act of paying attention can help quiet the mind. As you practice, you may find that your mind becomes less cluttered, and you start to experience moments of deep peace. The practice of mindfulness and meditation helps us understand that our true nature is not defined by our thoughts or emotions. Instead, it is a space of stillness and awareness that lies beneath them. By regularly engaging in these practices, we begin to see the world through a different lens. We notice the beauty in simple things and find joy in the present moment. This journey is not about achieving perfection. It is about allowing ourselves to be fully present and accepting of whatever arises. The more we practice, the more we can let go of our attachments to past regrets and future anxieties. We learn to appreciate the present for what it is, a gift, fleeting and precious. As we move through life with mindfulness, we develop a deeper understanding of ourselves and our place in the world. We become more compassionate and less reactive. Our relationships improve because we are more present and attentive. Our actions become more deliberate and meaningful. Mindfulness and meditation are not just practices, but ways of being. They invite us to live our lives with greater awareness and connection. When we embrace these practices, we open ourselves to the richness of each moment and discover the profound peace that lies within. In the stillness of mindfulness, we find that life is not something to be rushed through or controlled. It is a continuous flow, a dance of experiences and sensations. By learning to be fully present, we align ourselves with this flow and discover a deeper sense of fulfillment. So, take a moment now. Breathe deeply and notice the world around you. Feel the ground beneath your feet, the air on your skin, the rhythm of your breath. This is the present moment, the place where life truly unfolds. Embrace it with open awareness, and you will find the peace you seek. Karma and rebirth, the cycle of cause and effect. Imagine a pebble dropped into a calm pond. The ripples spread outwards, touching every part of the water. Each action we take, like that pebble, creates ripples in the world around us. This is the essence of karma, a fundamental concept in Buddhism. Karma is not just about rewards and punishments, but about the natural consequences of our actions. Think of karma as a simple principle. Every action has a reaction. When we act with kindness, compassion, and integrity, we create positive ripples that enrich our lives and the lives of others. Conversely, actions driven by anger, selfishness, or deceit cast shadows that can return to us in ways we might not expect. Our actions are like seeds we plant. If we sow seeds of love and generosity, we will eventually harvest a life of joy and fulfillment. If we plant seeds of negativity and harm, we may find ourselves struggling with difficulties and sorrow. This is the essence of karma. What we put into the world, we eventually get back. Rebirth, another crucial concept in Buddhism, is deeply connected to karma. It suggests that our actions and intentions do not end with our current life, but continue to shape our future experiences. According to this view, life is a cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. Each new life is influenced by the karma accumulated in previous lives. Consider rebirth not as a literal reincarnation, but as a metaphor for the continuous cycle of our actions and their consequences. Each moment is a new chance to make choices that will shape our future experiences. The idea of rebirth encourages us to live with awareness and responsibility, knowing that our present actions are laying the groundwork for our future. In our daily lives, understanding karma and rebirth helps us see beyond immediate reactions and think about the long-term impact of our actions. It invites us to pause and reflect on how our choices affect not just ourselves, but everyone around us. Living with this awareness can transform our approach to everyday challenges. When we recognize that our actions contribute to a larger cycle, we are more likely to choose actions that promote harmony and peace. Instead of reacting impulsively to conflicts or difficulties, we can pause, breathe, and choose a path that aligns with our deeper values. Embracing karma and rebirth teaches us patience and humility. It reminds us that our journey is not just about immediate outcomes, but about the ongoing process of growth and learning. Every experience, whether pleasant or challenging, is an opportunity to learn and evolve. This understanding also fosters a sense of interconnectedness. We are not isolated individuals navigating through life alone, but part of a vast, interconnected web. Our actions impact others, and the actions of others impact us. Recognizing this can deepen our compassion and empathy, leading us to act with greater kindness and understanding. By seeing life through the lens of karma and rebirth, we begin to understand that the search for meaning is not about reaching a final destination, but about the journey itself. Each step, each action, and each intention are integral parts of this journey. In essence, karma and rebirth teach us that our lives are a continuous flow of cause and effect. They remind us that we have the power to shape our experiences through our actions and intentions. By living mindfully and compassionately, we contribute positively to the cycle of life, creating a ripple effect that can bring lasting peace and fulfillment. As we navigate through our lives, let us remember that each action we take is a chance to plant seeds of goodness and create ripples of positive change. By doing so, we honor the interconnectedness of our existence and move closer to understanding life's deeper purpose. So, as you continue on your journey, carry with you the wisdom of karma and rebirth. Let it guide your actions and shape your understanding of life. Embrace each moment with awareness and compassion, knowing that every choice you make contributes to the greater tapestry of existence. Being alone is so powerful. Solitude. In a world filled with noise and constant chatter, the idea of being alone can seem daunting, even frightening. But let us take a moment to explore this simple, yet profound truth. Being alone is not a curse, but a doorway to understanding. When we are alone, we are presented with an opportunity to truly connect with ourselves. Imagine a quiet pond. When the water is still, it reflects the world clearly. But when the water is disturbed, it becomes murky and clouded. Similarly, when we are surrounded by constant activity and noise, it's difficult to see our own reflection clearly. The same happens with our minds. When we are alone, the surface of our thoughts can settle, and we can begin to see our own nature more clearly. In solitude, we confront ourselves without the distraction of external voices. It is in these moments of quiet that we can hear the whispers of our inner self. This is not always easy. Our minds, unused to such stillness, might initially resist. They might surface with worries, regrets, and fears. But if we allow ourselves to be present, to sit with these thoughts without judgment, we begin to understand them. We begin to see that they are not us, but simply passing clouds in the sky of our mind. Buddhism teaches us that the mind is like a garden. When left untended, it can become overrun with weeds of negative thoughts and distractions. Solitude offers us the space to tend to this garden, to pull out the weeds and cultivate seeds of peace and clarity. It is not in the midst of a crowd that we find this peace, but in the silence where we are free to cultivate our own inner garden. When we are alone, we are free from the influence of others. We are no longer swayed by their opinions or expectations. This freedom allows us to explore our true desires and values. We can ask ourselves, what truly matters to me? What do I want from life? In this space, we can begin to make choices that align with our true self, rather than conforming to external pressures. Solitude also helps us to develop a deeper sense of self-compassion. In the quiet, we can recognize our own struggles and challenges without the need for validation from others. We learn to be gentle with ourselves, to offer ourselves the same kindness that we might offer a friend in need. This self-compassion is essential for a peaceful mind and a fulfilling life. In moments of solitude, we can also reconnect with the present moment. Without the constant pull of external distractions, we can fully experience the here and now. We might notice the gentle breeze on our skin, the rhythm of our breath, or the simple joy of being alive. These are not mere distractions, but profound reminders of the richness of life that often go unnoticed. The Zen tradition teaches us that being alone is not about isolation, but about creating space for self-discovery and inner peace. It is in the quiet moments that we can tune into the subtle rhythms of our own being. We find that within ourselves lies a wellspring of wisdom and serenity that is always present, even if often overlooked. Solitude allows us to reflect on our actions and thoughts. When we are alone, we have the chance to evaluate our lives without the noise of daily life clouding our judgment. We can consider our past actions, learn from them, and make conscious decisions about our future. This reflection is a powerful tool for personal growth and understanding. In being alone, we also learn to appreciate our own company. Many people fear solitude because they fear being with themselves. But as we spend time alone, we begin to realize that we are not merely our thoughts or emotions. We are a vast and expansive consciousness capable of experiencing the richness of life in many forms. We discover that we are enough, just as we are. Solitude also offers us a chance to explore our creativity. Without the constant input from others, we can tap into our own unique ideas and inspirations. We might find that our most creative thoughts and solutions come when we are alone, unburdened by external opinions and judgments. Embracing solitude helps us to cultivate a sense of inner strength. When we are comfortable being alone, we are less dependent on external validation or company to feel fulfilled. We become resilient, able to face challenges and changes with a sense of inner confidence and peace. So, let us embrace solitude not as a state to be avoided, but as a powerful opportunity for self-discovery and growth. In these quiet moments, we can find the space to connect with our true selves, to reflect on our lives, and to experience the profound peace that comes from within. In this journey of life, being alone is not something to fear but a precious gift. It is in these moments of solitude that we find the clarity, strength, and wisdom that guide us on our path. Nirvana, the ultimate goal of enlightenment. Imagine you are walking in a dense forest. The trees are tall, their branches tangled, and the path is unclear. You've been walking for a long time, feeling weary and lost. Yet, you keep moving, driven by the hope that beyond this dense forest lies a place of peace, a place where you can finally rest. This forest is our life, and the place you seek is Nirvana. Nirvana is a concept often misunderstood. Many think of it as a distant paradise or a final destination, but in the teachings of Buddhism, Nirvana is not a place you go to, but a state of being you reach. It's not about escaping the world, but transforming your experience of it. The word Nirvana comes from the Sanskrit term meaning blowing out or extinguishing. It signifies the extinguishing of the flames of desire, hatred, and delusion that cause suffering. In this state, the mind is freed from the endless cycles of craving and aversion. It's not a place of physical comfort, but a profound inner peace. Think of a flame burning brightly. The flame represents your desires, fears, and attachments. As long as the flame burns, it consumes everything in its path, creating smoke and heat. These are the sufferings of life. When you blow out the flame, the smoke disappears, the heat subsides, and there is tranquility. This blowing out is akin to achieving nirvana, where the inner turmoil is extinguished, leaving a serene mind. To reach this state, we must first understand our own minds. Our thoughts, emotions, and reactions create the forest that clouds our path. Buddhism teaches that by cultivating wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental discipline, we can clear away the dense underbrush and find the path to nirvana. The journey towards nirvana involves the practice of the Eightfold Path. This path is like a map guiding us through the forest. It includes right understanding, right intent, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Each step helps us to cut through the illusions and distractions that keep us trapped in suffering. Imagine walking this path. Each step you take with awareness and intention brings you closer to the end of the forest. Along the way, you might encounter obstacles, thick branches, fallen trees, or even wild animals. These obstacles are like the challenges and setbacks in life. They are not there to stop you, but to teach you patience, resilience, and insight. As you continue, you begin to notice that the forest is not as dense as it once seemed. The path becomes clearer, and the surroundings more serene. This is the process of realizing nirvana. As you let go of attachments and understand the true nature of your mind, the obstacles that once seemed insurmountable become mere stepping stones. Achieving nirvana doesn't mean you will no longer face challenges or experience pain. Instead, it means that your relationship to these experiences changes. You see them for what they truly are, temporary and insubstantial. You no longer cling to them or let them define you. You remain calm and centered, no matter what the external circumstances may be. This state of peace is not exclusive to monks or enlightened beings. It is accessible to anyone who is willing to look within and practice the path with diligence. The more you understand and apply these teachings, the more you will find that the disturbances of life no longer have the power to shake your inner calm. In everyday life, this means approaching each moment with awareness and detachment. Whether you are faced with joy or sorrow, success or failure, you remain balanced and at peace. You understand that these experiences are part of the journey, not the end of it. Your happiness is no longer dependent on external circumstances, but is rooted in the inner peace you have cultivated. As you practice and deepen your understanding, you come to see that nirvana is not a distant dream but a present reality. It is the natural state of a mind free from the clutter of desire and delusion. It is always within reach, waiting for you to discover it. So, let this journey through the forest be a reminder that nirvana is not about escaping life but fully engaging with it in a way that transcends suffering. It is about finding peace in the midst of the storm, clarity in the midst of confusion, and joy in the midst of everyday moments. The path to nirvana is one of continuous practice and discovery. Each step you take, each breath you take, brings you closer to this ultimate goal. It's not a place far away, but a state of mind that you can experience here and now. And as you walk this path, you will find that the forest of your life transforms into a field of boundless peace and happiness. Bodhisattvas, selfless service for the greater good. In the quiet space of a serene forest, where the whispers of the trees are like soft-spoken secrets, we find the essence of a bodhisattva. The Bodhisattva is a figure in Buddhism who embodies the spirit of selfless compassion and dedication to others. But what does it mean to be a Bodhisattva? Imagine a candle in a dark room. The candle doesn't ask for anything in return. It simply shines, giving light and warmth to those who need it. The Bodhisattva is like that candle, illuminating the path for others, not for personal gain, but out of pure, heartfelt compassion. To understand the role of a Bodhisattva, let's start by recognizing that life is not just about our personal struggles and successes. It's also about how we relate to those around us. Each of us has moments when we can choose to act out of selfish desire or out of genuine concern for others. The Bodhisattva chooses the latter. In Buddhism, the path of the Bodhisattva is one of profound dedication. It begins with the aspiration to attain enlightenment, not just for oneself, but for the sake of all beings. This means that instead of seeking nirvana as an escape from suffering, the Bodhisattva vows to stay in the world, helping others to find their way to enlightenment too. This is a deep commitment, one that transforms the pursuit of personal happiness into a journey of collective well-being. Think of a mother who sacrifices her own comfort to ensure her child's happiness and health. Her love and care are not driven by personal reward, but by a deep, unconditional compassion. Similarly, the Bodhisattva acts with the same selfless spirit, always looking beyond their own needs to the needs of others. A key practice for the Bodhisattva is to cultivate the four immeasurables: loving kindness, compassion, empathetic joy, and equanimity. Loving kindness is the wish for all beings to be happy. Compassion is the desire to alleviate their suffering. Empathetic joy is the happiness we feel when others succeed. And equanimity is the balance of mind that remains unaffected by the ups and downs of life. The Bodhisattva's journey is also marked by the practice of the six perfections, or paramithas: generosity, ethical conduct, patience, effort, concentration, and wisdom. These virtues guide the Bodhisattva's actions and thoughts, helping them to live a life of harmony and service. Through generosity, the Bodhisattva offers what they have to those in need. Ethical conduct ensures that their actions are pure and just. Patience helps them endure hardships without losing compassion. Effort drives them to persist in their path of service. Concentration focuses their mind on the goal of enlightenment, and wisdom enables them to see things as they truly are. Being a bodhisattva does not mean being perfect or always succeeding. It means having the courage to strive for the highest good, to recognize our own limitations while continually seeking to improve. It's a path of constant growth and learning, where each step taken in kindness and understanding contributes to the greater good. In everyday life, we can embody the spirit of the bodhisattva in simple ways. It can be as small as a kind word to a stranger, a helping hand to a neighbor, or simply listening with full attention to a friend in need. These small acts of compassion accumulate and contribute to a larger wave of positive change. The Bodhisattva's path invites us to transcend the self-centered pursuits of personal gain and to engage in a life of meaningful service. It challenges us to rethink what it means to live a fulfilled life. True fulfillment comes not from personal achievement alone, but from how we affect the world around us. When we live with the intention of serving others and contributing to their happiness, we find a deeper sense of purpose and joy. So, as we reflect on the Bodhisattva's path, let us ask ourselves, how can we embody this spirit in our daily lives? What small changes can we make to live with greater compassion and understanding? The answers might not always be easy, but the journey of exploring these questions can lead us to a richer, more connected experience of life. The balance between solitude and community in Buddhism. In the stillness of a quiet room, where the only sound is the gentle rhythm of your breath, the essence of solitude reveals itself. Solitude is not merely the absence of people. It is the space where you meet yourself without the distractions of daily life. It is a sacred pause, a moment to reconnect with your inner being. But how does this solitude relate to the world around us? And why is it so deeply valued in Buddhism? Imagine a serene pond, its surface perfectly still and untroubled. This stillness reflects the mind of one who practices solitude with mindfulness. In this quiet, clarity emerges. The pond, when undisturbed, mirrors the sky, showing us that solitude can offer a clear perspective on our lives, free from the constant ripples of external influences. Yet, In Buddhism, solitude is not seen as a retreat from the world, but as a necessary practice to understand it more deeply. Solitude provides the space to reflect, to meditate, and to cultivate inner peace. It is where we learn to listen to our own hearts and minds, gaining insight into our true nature. However, this does not mean that Buddhism advocates for complete isolation. The teachings offer a profound balance between being alone and being with others. When we speak of community in Buddhism, we refer to Sangha, the community of fellow practitioners who walk the path of wisdom and compassion together. Sangha is not just a social group. It is a source of support, a place where we can share our experiences and learn from one another. It is through our interactions with others that we can practice kindness, patience, and understanding. This community helps us grow and reminds us that we are not alone on our journey. The balance between solitude and community is crucial. Solitude allows us to recharge and find our center, while community provides the connection and support we need to practice and grow. In Buddhist practice, solitude is like the retreating tide that exposes the ocean floor, allowing us to see what is beneath the surface. Community is like the tide coming in, bringing life and nourishment to the shore. In daily life, finding this balance can be challenging. We might find ourselves overwhelmed by the demands of work, family, and social obligations, leaving little time for quiet reflection. On the other hand, we might seek solitude as an escape from the pressures of society, neglecting the support and connection that come from being part of a community. Buddhism teaches us to harmonize these aspects, using solitude to deepen our understanding and community to enhance our practice. To illustrate this balance, consider a simple practice: setting aside a few moments each day for quiet meditation, while also participating in a community activity or group that aligns with your values. This practice allows you to cultivate inner peace while remaining engaged with the world around you. It helps you maintain a sense of connection without losing the clarity and insight gained through solitude. In the quiet of your own space, you have the opportunity to reflect on your thoughts and feelings, to understand yourself more deeply. Yet, when you step into the world, you bring this clarity with you, engaging with others from a place of groundedness and compassion. The balance between these two aspects enriches your life, allowing you to navigate the complexities of existence with a sense of purpose and peace. In Buddhism, the ultimate goal is not to escape the world but to live within it with awareness and compassion. Solitude and community are not opposing forces but complementary aspects of a well-rounded practice. Solitude nurtures the inner life, while community fosters external harmony. Together, they create a path of wisdom and fulfillment. As you reflect on this balance, consider how it plays out in your own life. Are there areas where you could benefit from more solitude to reflect and recharge? Or perhaps you could seek out more opportunities to engage with a supportive community. By consciously balancing these aspects, you align yourself with the teachings of Buddhism, creating a life that is both rich in inner peace and connected to the world. In conclusion, the balance between solitude and community is a dynamic interplay, a dance that reflects the deeper wisdom of Buddhist teachings. By embracing both, you cultivate a life that is harmonious, fulfilling, and true to the essence of your being. Conclusion: the journey toward true meaning and lasting peace. In the quiet of the evening, as the world slows down, there is a space where you can pause and reflect. Life, with all its noise and chaos, brings us to a simple truth. The search for meaning is not an end but a journey. It is in this journey that we discover the essence of our existence, not through grand achievements or external validations, but through the serenity of our own being. Imagine walking through a serene forest. The path ahead is not always clear, and the trees sometimes obscure the way. Yet, with each step, you learn to trust the path beneath your feet. This journey is much like our search for life's meaning. It is not about reaching a final destination, but about understanding and experiencing each moment along the way. Throughout this exploration, we have delved into the teachings of Buddhism, seeking answers to profound questions about existence. We have learned about the Four Noble Truths, which guide us to recognize the nature of suffering, the origins of our discontent, and the path to liberation. We have discussed the Eightfold Path, a roadmap that helps us navigate through the complexities of life with wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental discipline. we have come to understand the impermanence of all things. Everything around us, from our emotions to our possessions, is in constant flux. By embracing this truth, we learn to let go of our attachments and find peace in the ever-changing nature of life. The concept of self, too, has shown us that the idea of a permanent, unchanging self is an illusion. Instead, we are ever-evolving, shaped by our experiences and interactions. Mindfulness and meditation have taught us to live in the present moment, to observe our thoughts and feelings without judgment, and to cultivate a sense of inner calm. Through these practices, we can connect with our true selves and see the world with clarity and compassion. Karma and rebirth have illuminated the cycle of cause and effect that governs our actions and their consequences. Understanding this cycle helps us make choices that lead to positive outcomes and break free from patterns of suffering. Compassion and loving kindness remind us that our true fulfillment comes from our relationships with others, from the genuine care and empathy we extend. The concept of nirvana, the ultimate goal of enlightenment, represents a state of perfect peace and freedom from suffering. It is not a place but a profound experience of liberation and contentment. Bodhisattvas, those who choose to remain in the world to help others achieve enlightenment, embody selfless service and compassion. In embracing contentment and simplicity, we discover joy in the present moment, finding richness in the everyday experiences that often go unnoticed. As we conclude this journey, remember that the quest for life's true meaning is not about finding a singular answer but about continuously exploring and experiencing the depths of our own existence. Life's true meaning lies not in a distant goal but in the present moment, in the simple act of being fully aware and engaged with our lives. It is in the quiet moments of reflection, in the acts of kindness we extend, and in the deep sense of connection we feel with ourselves and others. As we close this exploration, take a moment to pause and reflect on the insights we have shared. Allow these teachings to resonate within you, guiding you towards a life of peace, fulfillment, and true meaning. The journey is ongoing, and each step brings new understanding and growth. Embrace it with an open heart and a curious mind. Thank you for joining us on this journey. If you found value in these teachings, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Wisdom Woven. Your support helps us continue to explore and share these profound insights. May your path be illuminated with wisdom and peace, and may you find the true meaning of life in every step you take.